hopefully other people can watch it remotely. But I just thought we would present something where people could just get a little more familiar with what's on the website, how to use it, and give people a chance to ask questions. So Carrie Byron and Jim Klinger are going to help me tonight. And so we're just going to go over some basics of the website, and please ask questions. That's great if you want to ask questions. And I've prepared some written directions for some of this. So if you see something on the website that we didn't get to tonight that you would really like covered or would really like some direction on, just let me know. And what I thought I'd do is when this recording is ready, I'd just send it out with the written directions that we've already prepared. So I'm going to share my screen. And so hopefully you can see the home page of our website. And hopefully you've got it set up so that your computer remembers your login and you don't have to do it every time. So you should just be able to click and it logs in. And if you remember, there's two views. Let me do that again. There's two views to the home page. And so right now we have a join section for anyone who wants to sign up, both there and here. And the non-member view looks a little bit different than the member view, but you don't see it until you're logged out. And hopefully you've taken a look also at the things that are on the main homepage. I just found out today, I've got to change this, that BioBlast has been postponed to 2022. They've not narrowed down the dates, so I'll just put postponed on there because we just don't know what the spring's going to be. So I'm going to start with our chapter page. So when you access the website, you first see the main homepage, and we're now going to go to Northwest. Because we just don't know what the future holds, we're certainly not going to be having in-person meetings for a while. I tried to redesign this page to just help us stay in communication a little bit better. And so I'm going to focus on those parts of this homepage. So these top three boxes, volunteering, I've put the main volunteer areas, and of course some of this is winding down as we get into the late fall, but it's organized by county. And these are the things that are kind of ongoing volunteer opportunities. So again, we really encourage people to look at this. I've taken a lot of it from the newsletter that Jim has put together, and that's one way to look for things to do. Then the second, on the other side, the second part of this is we're not able to offer in-person continuing ed as we have in the past. And of course we have our chapter meetings, but I've compiled some things in rough categories here that are Arkansas centered and in areas that we have as our emphasis, particularly in knit training. And in fact, some of them are the recorded knit trainings. Those are kept in a private link, but you can email either Dave or I, and we can send you those links. And then many of these others, almost all of the others, are YouTube videos. And I've tried to put our partner that created these videos. The eBirds Essential course is the only thing that's an actual course that teaches you how to do eBird and records your sightings rather than being a video. So we've got all kinds of categories, and you'll see some of our local people have produced some things. Watersheds and water conservation, herps, butterflies, pollinators, insects, plant and fungi, and then reducing waste and environmental conservation. I need to add Curtis's recycle seminar there. So again, these are all things that if you need some continuing ed, you can use. The Journey North would be a really interesting thing to do over the winter to be ready for the spring. Kitty prepared this. She has a narrated PowerPoint, and she also has then some resources that are in our documents, and that's another thing I'll cover later. And then you would be ready to record any first sightings in the spring of monarchs, milkweeds, and hummingbirds. So there's all kinds of things on there. And if you know someone that is kind of struggling with getting their continuing ed, you might point that out to them. I also maintain a YouTube channel with a playlist. So almost all of these are also on this playlist, and you can go directly there and play them there as well. Okay. Then in the center, we have a box that says staying connected. And so we've tried to gather all the things that can help people keep up with what's going on, even though we're not doing in-person things very much anymore. So I just want to go over those briefly. This calendar shows the next 10 days of events on our calendars. So here we are today. So anything that's coming up shows there. It can be clicked on and you can go to the calendar. And I'm going to have Carrie talk about the calendar, so I'm not going to actually click on any of those. But that's a quick way to check what's coming up. I know one member that at least was checking this and then calling two of our members that don't have any kind of internet and reading off the next 10 days of events to them. So you can use that in a variety of ways. Then another way to find out about events and other things, all kinds of other information, is the newsletter. And this is not a link, but I'll show you where you can go to look at the back issues if you've missed any of them. So newsletter is another way to keep up with what's going on and what events are coming up. We do have a Twitter feed. I know a lot of people don't like Twitter, but every event that Carrie enters on the calendar, she also pushes that out to Twitter. And so one way, if you want to see what new events are, she says you can just sign up for Twitter and only follow us, and then you won't get a lot of the other stuff. So that's one way to see what's being added to the calendar. And I also want to put in a plug for texting. If you have not signed up to receive texts from here, it would really be appreciated if you would, if you have a smartphone. We have about 160 people who have enabled it. So right around half have enabled it. Right now I'm doing the texting. I'm hoping to hand that off to somebody else. We don't text often, just occasionally, but if we really need to get information out quickly, the text would probably be the easiest way to reach people if we had a lot on there. Right now, we're just doing a patchwork of email, Facebook, some texting, you know, and you never know who you're reaching. You know, if you're getting some people 3 times or if there's people that don't get any of those. The texts are always prefaced with the word Master Naturalist. So you know it's from us, and they're always from the same number. So you could even put that as a contact so that you know that it's Northwest Master Naturalist texting. And you also can go right here and use this link and change your preference. So I'm currently accepting, or I do not want to receive. But you do have to have a mobile number entered, which it prompts you to do. So that's something to think about. You know, if there were an emergency and we really needed to get something out, it would be nice to know that most members were getting the text. Okay. Then we have our social media. We actually have 2 Facebook groups. One is our public facing Facebook group, and this is just a feed to show you the latest post on that. You can see that we have almost 4,000 members on this. I really consider this part of our education and outreach, because many of these people are not only not a member of Northwest, they aren't even master naturalists, nor do they live in Northwest Arkansas, or maybe even not Arkansas. People from all over look at this, and many of the posts on here are educational in nature. Sometimes we put events on here. I did for this NOARC because it was such short notice. But most of it's just stuff about nature and the environment. Joan Reynolds and Eric Fuselier are the main people that post on this Facebook page, and they do a great job. Eric puts a lot of Wild One things on there. So that's another thing, if you're not connected to, you might consider. And then we have our private group that is only Northwest Arkansas members. And that's really nice because you don't get the ads and all the other things in there that you tend to get on a regular Facebook feed. And we also try very hard to keep it, and everybody's been great about just keeping it non-political. We want to talk about anything but politics on this page. And so it's been really interesting. People post a lot of pictures. We ran one of our challenges in the Facebook group. People ask questions. It's just been really nice. I put my worm bin on there when I got it for my birthday. So had you been connected to that, you would have known I had a worm bin. And then we have Instagram that's just getting started. And I have to tell you, I am not an Instagrammer, Carrie. And so I found out I can't embed the feed. So I'm just going to have to make a link that would take you to Instagram. But that's something that we're hoping to get going. Instagram is mostly picture based, very little text on it. And it's just another way to connect with people online. So again, there's all these things you can take advantage of to keep in touch, or at least know what's going on. We're hoping that no one feels like they just absolutely don't know what's going on in our chapter. We're trying a lot of ways to push it out. Okay.
Hey, Cheryl.
Yes.
There are a couple of questions. Care, you want to go ahead and ask your question about texting?
Sure. Did you unmute yourself, Care?
There I am. I was curious. I don't know why, but I was immediately jumped to the way we try to coordinate and switch groups when we have knits at retreat and we're out in the field and rotate efficiently. And I just wondered if there were ways to, from that text group, create almost a subgroup for an event. And I know we're hosting, aren't we hosting BioBlitz pretty soon? And something like that might be a neat coordinating tool, but I didn't know if that would be the way to ever use it.
We, we started out, we tried out a different texting module that we paid for, and then Club Express came up with one. And I asked to move to it because it is so flexible. You can text people about events from, if you have them register, you can text those people that registered. You can text any subgroup you want. You can create your own subgroup. It is hugely flexible. The only thing is the texts are pretty short, 115 characters. You can do a double text. So that's why I almost always include a link just to save space. I'll link to an event or a YouTube video or something that I want to text out. But yes, it has tremendous possibilities. And it's not hard to use. So keep that in mind.
Yeah, I could see that being a big help. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Cheryl, Kara also asked or mentioned the fact that aren't we doing the BioBlitz in 2022? And the answer is no.
We'll do it in 2023, I assume.
2024 is what they've set us on now.
Oh, what happened to 2023?
I guess that one's already in the planning stages.
Oh.
So they took 2022 away from us. The next available one without planning was 2024.
Oh, wow. Man, how did I not know that? I'm totally out of the loop on that. Okay.
Thank you.
I'm only in the loop because I was one of the coordinators and
Oh,
I won't be on the board then.
okay. Those are great questions. Any other questions?
Yeah, this is Dave. I have a question. Well, and just information. Central has 2023. That's why we got bumped back to 2024, and then actually in 2022 is Central, and 23 Foothills got reassigned. They wanted to take advantage of their all their planning. So anyway, that's why we got bumped back to 2024.
Oh, Robin told me
Um,
today that it was 22 for Foothills.
Sorry. Yes, you are
Okay.
right. Foothills went to 22. Central is at 23. We are at 24.
Okay.
But my question is, and I think it's great that we had the exposure of 4,000 plus on the Facebook page, and I think that the Facebook page, I really, I appreciate the information that's there. If I or anybody in our chapter has a pretty cool thing to put, are we all eligible to put stuff on there, or does that need to get submitted somehow and then get approved by the admins, or how does that work?
I believe you submit it and it gets approved by the admins because there are other people that post on there.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mhm.
I would say
Okay,
go ahead
so
and
if we
share
have
it.
an idea, put a picture out there or whatever
Mhm.
it is, put it, and then it goes to the admins and then for publishing.
Right. I believe that's the
Okay.
way it works.
Okay. Yeah, good.
You can always, if you don't want to post it yourself, you can always send it to myself or Joan or
Mhm.
Eric, and we can do it for you. I
Okay.
I don't do much posting on it. They do a good job, and that's one thing off my plate. So I don't have to.
Is Eric an admin on that?
Yes, Joan made Eric an
Oh.
admin.
Okay. Okay, good.
I had another question. I think I just missed. You made a jump to a YouTube channel. Was
Mhm.
that your personal one, or I missed that on CE when you were covering CE?
Sure.
I think.
On I have a Northwest NWAM Gmail. So I made a YouTube channel, and you can make something called, and that's where I put all the Zoom videos that we record. They're just unlisted for the most part.
So how do I get to that?
To this list, the playlist. The playlist are the different CE things. And
Okay.
you get to that. Unfortunately, Zoom puts so many things on there. I can't see my tabs. There we go. So
Okay.
I've got a link to it right there. And I
Alright,
believe
wonderful.
that you can subscribe to the YouTube channel as
That
well.
would be awesome. Yeah.
I think when you watch a video at the end, it says you can subscribe to
Great.
Northwest YouTube channel.
Thank you. Okay.
Mhm. All right. If any more questions, chime in. I'll go back here. A couple other things just to point out. I don't know if our book club's still going. That's the last book I knew. It may be on hiatus. But if you want to look at the previous newsletters, if you've missed some of them, you can use this little accordion here. Each of these things pop out and it's got a link or something. And I just did that to save space. So there is a page where all the previous ones are linked. Takes a while to get a picture on there, so I didn't get those last three with pictures. But all of them that have been put out are on this page. So you can catch up that way. And then if you ever want to know who is on the board of directors or you want to contact one of us, it gives you a link to committees. And the second one is the board. This is the current board. This will change. Some of the members will change in January. And look, most of them have pictures. We would so love people to put profile pictures. And I'll mention that later about putting profile pictures and show you how to do that. But again, you can email the board here, or you can just see who's on there and their role. Okay. So that's a quick look at our homepage. And so I'm going to, unless there are further questions, I'm going to throw it to Carrie and let Carrie take us through the calendar and events and how we can keep up with that.
Hey guys, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So I do have one question for everybody here. If you can shout it or put it in the chat. But do people mostly use the website on a Windows machine or like an iPad or an Apple machine? What do you guys use mostly to look at the website and the calendar?
Mac.
Mac, Windows, Mac.
Apple. iPad.
iPad.
Windows.
Is that Windows, Paul? It's like 3. No, it must be a W. iPhone, Windows 8. Oh, dang it. Okay, sorry. I have a new kitty and he's climbing on my leg. Anyway, okay, well, I have both my Windows laptop and my iPad on. So if we need to like show something different that you didn't understand, we can go from one to the other because there are a couple little differences. Mostly it's just if you're saving an event, but let me go ahead and share my screen here. I'll try to make this short. Start. Is that, there it is. Okay, you can see it, right? Looks like it.
Yeah.
So if we click on events here, and you can just go straight to the Northwest event calendar, and this search box automatically comes up here. I realize I'm on my iPad and I have no cursor now, but you can hit this show search and either show it or get rid of it. And all of these things are checked automatically. So you can uncheck them if you want, and then just click Master Naturalist. But since we already did that with the calendar up above, that's what it's showing here. And if you wanted to search for something in particular, like board meeting, or you heard somebody talk about a cool volunteer event, you could just type volunteer in here and hit search. And oh, look, there's a couple volunteer spots if you need to get some extra hours in. But it's just kind of delayed.
Hey, Carrie, I'm sorry. Where did you find events? Where did you find? Oh, duh. I see it now. Thank you.
Yeah, it's just up at the top there, and then you can click the Northwest calendar. Okay, so there now everything is reset again. So let's say you're looking around and you see this virtual tour. So you click on that one there on the 16th. So that's today. And here has all the info. And you want to save that to your calendar so that you can remember to go watch it. You just click on the right over there. You see add to my calendar. And then this is what it looks like on the iPad. So it just pops up right there. I can click add to calendar and then click. I mean, I live on Google Calendar, so I have a lot of things on there. And then just click done and then done again, and it pops up right there. And it works basically the same on your phone. And then let me just show you. Let's see what else. I think that's the main thing there. I'm going to show you on the Windows too, because the calendar is a little less obvious, I think. Let's see. Yeah. Can you see that yet? Okay, so
Yes.
here if we go to event calendar, okay, and then let's say we want to, here we're in December now. And here's an event that we're doing at Beaver Watershed Alliance. So I want to make sure that I add that to my calendar. And so when you click add to calendar here from a Windows machine, all it does is saves it in your downloads. You guys see where that is here? And so you have to double click that and make sure that you have Windows Calendar set up on your computer, and then it all shows up here. And I can change which calendar I have it set on right here. If I want to adjust the time, I can do that. And the information is just right here. And I can click. And then it shows up right there.
Hey,
Okay.
Carrie, I don't know why it's echoing. Carrie, I'll put it in chat.
Am I still echoing? No, it looks like I stopped. Okay.
Carrie, this is so cool. I've already learned tons already on this calendar. I'm wondering this. How does, just like now what I'm seeing on my screen is the Alliance Quarterly Speaker Series. How does that, or any event that we know of, like the NOARC event coming up this weekend, how do those get to the calendar? What's the best way to communicate that to whoever, or who do we do that, and how does it get to the calendar itself?
So, excuse me, it gets to the calendar by me putting it on there or Cheryl putting it on. And so someone has to tell us, or, you know, sometimes it takes a few people to get to us for that to get on there. But that was it. I believe that NOARC event came to a few different people, and then it was, and I was one of those, and so got it in on the calendar. And so if you have things that you want on there, you just tell me, and that's the most direct route to get something on there. And then we can make sure that we share it everywhere that it needs to go.
See, I think that is so good. I don't think that I was ever real clear about who was actually putting it on the calendar. And I think that I was just telling whoever I could tell, and maybe Cheryl, and Cheryl say, okay, we'll get it there. And I didn't know who actually was putting it on there. So what you're saying is if we get it to you or to Cheryl, is there a primary person? Are you the primary calendar person?
I would say yes, I am. But even if you get it to Cheryl, then she can get it to me. Or if I'm busy, she can do it too.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
And the kinds of things that you need for the calendar would just be the dates, the times, and any detail. I guess you can put out any, copy and paste any details about the event out there on it.
Correct. So, I mean, the most important is the title of the event, when it is, what time, and then just basic things we need to know. So if it's like a Zoom webinar, we need the registration link. If it's an in-person volunteer activity, then we would just need to know exactly where it is and what people need to bring or be aware of. So just kind of like with any general event, the basic information that you need. Somebody else had another question.
I did, but I don't know if can I go? So
Yeah.
today, Carrie, we were talking someone was just, I think, named today to be the volunteer coordinator at the new nature center. And I think she's still doing things down at the Little Rock Nature Center. So what we didn't want to do was overwhelm her, with having every master naturalist call and say, how can I volunteer? And so I know that Hobbs uses Volgistics, right? And that kind of thing. So let's pretend COVID isn't happening. Would the calendar person, right now it's you, but whoever that is, get a direct piece of information from Carla at Hobbs with the full listings? Is that how that would get set up? And then should we prompt this new agency to follow that protocol? I was just curious.
That's a very good question. And I think that's something that we're trying to work out. And Jim, as the volunteer coordinator, he would be the person that gets that information right now. And then it would get to Cheryl and myself. And so that's something that the three of us have been talking about, trying to figure out how to make that process easier for us and for our partners and just internally to share information. And I think we're still just trying to figure that out, and maybe come the first of the year, we'll have a better idea of how to make that work. We need to kind of get the new board on board and get the strategic plan working and kind of clean up some things. But that's definitely something that is on my list to try to streamline care. So
Yeah.
for
I think
sure, right now,
everybody will benefit from it. That's awesome. Thank you.
Right. So I'm gonna just throw my email in the chat here because Carrie asked. And as most of you know, I am not the best emailer. So if you need something right away, feel free to call or text. I'm really pretty good about texting. And even Jim knows, he will text me to say, hey, Carrie, check your email. So that works as well if you need to do that. That's fine.
Hey,
And
Carrie.
Cheryl wanted, oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just curious. One of the things that says add to my calendar, and I'm a Windows 10 person, but I use Google Calendars. Does it work for that?
So let me show you that again, Paul, because that's what Cheryl was asking me as well in the chat. So I am on, I don't even know what this Windows is. I'm sorry, but I am a Mac user stuck on a Windows work machine. So
Yeah.
I can figure it out, but I am not happy about it generally. So I have Windows and I am a fanatical Google Calendar user. So let's say I'm going to add the speaker series event here to my calendar.
Yep.
So I go over on the right here and you click add to calendar. Okay. And and then you saw this little download here that showed up in my downloads. And Cheryl, did you get that far too?
Yeah, but then I didn't see after that.
Okay, so
couldn't
maybe
see
I should
anything.
have done this step before I did this so that it would work, and I maybe shouldn't have to show you. But this is the calendar that is like the Windows calendar. I don't know what it's called.
Yep.
But see, it's
just
not
calendar.
showing.
And
It's not showing though.
it's
just
Yeah, it's
still
Windows
displaying.
Calendar.
I have to let me switch my screen sharing. How can I do that? Here. Can you see that now? Let's see.
There.
It's switched. Okay.
Yeah.
So sorry, that's what you were missing. I forgot about that. Just changing the screen share. So this is just Windows Calendar. And right before the meeting, I just signed into my Gmail and set it up on here because it's not going to take you to the Google Calendar in your browser like you probably use, Paul. Right. So you have to have this set up for
So
you
can
to
I point my
save those
Google
things.
Calendar? Can I point my Google Calendar then to the Northwest Arkansas Master Naturalist Calendar and just have it automatically populate?
No,
I
because the Master Naturalist does not have a Google Calendar. You're basically
That's-
taking the event from the website and saving it to your Google Calendar. I see what
Yeah.
you're saying. We're not at that. We probably won't be able to do that, honestly.
Okay.
But
Okay.
I know exactly what you're talking about. So if I have this calendar app set up on Windows, then when I download that little calendar piece from the website, all I do is double click on it. Let me see if I can go back and open it up. Can you see?
Yep.
Wait, where'd it go? Okay, yeah, there it is. So then when I double click on that little thing in the download, here it shows up and you can make any edits that you want. And then here's where you can switch which of your million calendars like me you would like it saved to.
Yeah, yep.
Okay, so is that the piece you were missing,
Okay.
was setting up the
Yeah, I
calendar?
think so. I think so. I'll give it
Okay.
a try and see if I can
Oh.
make it work again.
Oh, yay. That'd
Yeah.
be great.
Yeah, Cheryl, does that work for you now, or does that make sense?
That makes sense. Yeah, I just couldn't see this piece.
Yeah, sorry, I forgot to switch my
No
screen
problem.
sharing. So anyway, if anybody has trouble with that, just call me because I either have figured it out or can pretty easily. So that's the most important thing there. Now, let me go back to the, I'll try to wrap this up quickly here. The other really important thing besides just finding events and then saving them to your own calendar is looking at contact info or external links for more information or registration info. Those things are all right here on the calendar. So there was a good, if we go back here to November, there's this volunteer seed collection that they had earlier in the month. And you can see there's a flyer here. And then it says on there, like, you need to contact them to register because they were limiting the number of people. And if you go over to the right here, it says email Lori Lynn. So you just click on that and you can sign your, oh wait, this is just.
Yeah,
event
actually,
registration.
Actually, I can't
Oh.
put in, I did that when I can't put in Lori Lynn's address. It'll only go to,
Well,
a-
I
Did it work for
thought I
you?
had figured that out earlier, Cheryl,
Yeah.
was something else.
yeah.
Well, okay, we're working on that feature. I will put a pause on that. I will give you a different example then for those buttons come into place. So here with the Alliance Quarterly Speaker Series, I made this button right here. It's register now. So you can click on this and it will take you straight to the Zoom registration link. And so if you're signing up for something like this, you don't want to just add that to your calendar from the Master Naturalist page. You want to just sign right up and register, and then you'll be able to add it to your calendar with the link and everything right there. And so that's what I was thinking, Cheryl. I think you can adjust these to say email and add anybody's email. Is that
You
correct,
can't
or
put
is
an
it only-
email there. You can only put an external web page. So
Okay.
I put email on there to try to get people to look for Lori Lynn's email, because you're limited on how many letters you can put on those buttons.
Yes, yes. Well, watch over here for important information. I will say that. It's always a learning process while we're trying to get them to add features and figure it all out ourselves, I guess. But if you're wondering about something or why it doesn't work the way you think it should, just ask and maybe it does, or maybe we could get it to. And that's the last thing I want to just cover briefly is something that I had really wanted was color coding on the calendar. And so right now, everything's set for things that are Northwest based are all in green. And something that we've talked about maybe doing at the beginning of the year is having color coding for meetings and continuing ed and volunteer opportunities. So you could glance at this calendar, especially when you have, excuse me, a really busy month, and say, I'm looking for volunteer things, and here they all are in blue, and then the continuing ed are in red. And so is that something that you guys think would be helpful to have? What are your thoughts on that?
From continuing ed standpoint, I think it's awesome. Absolutely awesome
Yes.
idea.
Okay. I think it would work better than the search feature because you'd have to have the right thing to search for to use that, you know, and it would work for like volunteer, but continuing ed doesn't always have those specific words in it. So I don't know. Does anybody have any other thoughts? We're trying to keep it to just a few categories, so it's not terribly complicated.
I don't see it here, Carrie, but at the top of a while ago, you were able to put a filter on it by events or type of events.
Yeah, so that's
So the
right up here.
categories, if you just said, if you had you're saying, so the categories would be by color, is that what you're saying?
Yes, they would show up instead of all being green, they'd be a few different
Mhm.
colors. And then you could also just select categories that
Yeah.
you wanted to see.
Right.
If you wanted 2 of the
Yeah.
3 or 1 of, right.
Yeah, if I'm looking for a volunteer and I know it's blue, then it'd be easy to see that. Yeah, that'd be good.
Right, right. And then just the last plug is that Twitter account. I really suggest people get a Twitter account, if only just to follow us, because it's the best way to say, oh, hey, look at all these new things that were just posted. Paul's laughing at me. But it's like, it's the notifications for your
I
calendar.
hate Twitter.
Yeah, you have to, but what'd you say?
I hate Twitter.
You hate Twitter. Well, it's the notifications for the calendar. You don't have to use it for anything else, but
No,
it's pretty nice to be able to see.
politics turned me off to it.
Oh, I understand. Well, make up a fake email and Master Naturalist Paul at Twitter. I don't know. Cheryl or Jim, is there anything else that I'm missing that you want me to add?
Nope, I think you did good.
What's the R for on all of those things?
Oh,
The big blue R in this.
I
in the-
don't
in-
know. You know, all that calendar stuff was set up before I was on board. There's all kinds of categories and stuff. And I don't know where the R came from, but I haven't been able to figure out how to change it.
Mm.
So it would be nice. But there's what, another N or 2 other N's? There's 2 other N's. So north central and northeast.
Okay.
Okay. I'm going to share my screen again. I'm going to briefly go over just a couple other things, and then I'm going to turn it over to Jim. So this top menu bar, you will need to use for several things, the chapters, the events. But we tried to make it was so cluttered. We tried to make it at the state level so that we could get some things off of there, but they could still be found. So I want to talk just a minute about this resources tab. We put several things under there that, you may or may not use, but 2 important things on here are the membership directory and the documents. So I'm going to go over those just briefly. If you met someone or you want to contact someone that you haven't seen for a while, you can search first name or first and last name. And of course, that will search the whole state, but that brought me Carla Presley, for example. If you do Smith, you're going to get everybody in the state named Smith, which isn't that many really. You can always narrow your search down by chapter, so you can limit to 1 chapter. You can limit it to Benton County, people who live in Benton County, if you wish. Or if you're looking for a ride somewhere, you could put in your zip code and see how many master naturals are within 5 or 10 miles of you. So you can do a bunch of things with it, but it's very useful. And one thing we get a lot of questions about, or a lot of requests, is people search someone and they see this and they get on the phone and they say, hey, I need to mail something to Carla and her street address is not on here. Well, yes, it is. Well, at least I hope it is. I hope Carla put it in. I didn't try this one. All this is just thumbnail information. And when you click on the person, you go to all this other information. So here is Carla's address if we need it. Now, again, no one can see this but the Arkansas Master Naturalists, People worry about, I don't want to put a lot of information on there. You have to be a member of the state master naturalist to see any of this. Club Express is very serious about protecting privacy, and they've got their stuff really locked up. So you don't need to worry, about it being out there everywhere. So that's just something to know, is there's more information than just what's in this little box here. So that's the membership directory briefly. If you wonder what is on your information, if someone searched you, this is called part of your profile. You can go to your profile by hovering over your name or clicking it or touching it, depending on what kind of device you're doing. And you get this little menu here. And so I can see directly what my directory looks like. And that's mine. Or I can go to profile, and there's actually quite a lot of stuff there that you can do. You can see when you need to renew, and that's coming up. December 1st, you should get an email from the system that asks you to renew. And after December 1st, until you pay, you'll have a little red dot up here by your name that reminds you that you owe dues. But all this is editable here. So if you've changed addresses, changed phone numbers, or want to add something, you can do that. That's all your contact information. And this is another way that you can enable text. Here is under your mobile phone number. So that's one section. This is what would show as a biography in the member directory. And you can put your photo. And all you have to do, if you're on your phone or an iPad or something with the camera, is take a selfie and click select and find it. And boom, there you are. And it really helps to be able, there are so many people that I know their name, but I have no idea what they look like. I've never met them, but I've emailed them a whole bunch of times. So it's really helpful to have pictures. I don't have a great picture. It doesn't have to be a great picture. And some people like put their pets and things, which is cute, but that doesn't help me know what they look like. So it's nice if it's a picture of you. You also can control the amount of information that's shown. So for some reason you are uncomfortable with having all of your information, you don't want your home address, for example, there's to show in the directory. There's all kinds of things you can do here. I don't recommend it. I had a situation in another chapter where someone from Central was registering for Zoom meetings in North Central, which they were fine with, but they had no way to send it to them because they had absolutely no information in the directory. They'd turned it all off. And so they asked me to help with that. And we finally got that person to change it so they at least had their email in there and they could get the Zoom links. So I do encourage you to have it on there. It's very secure, but you do have that option if you don't want it all to show. Okay, that's that briefly. Then documents. This is a little known part of the website. When you click on documents, there are folders for every chapter. There's one called public and there's one for the state level. And so here's Northwest, and you click on it, and sometimes when you mouse over it, it says no documents. Or if I click directly on here, it would say this folder has no documents. That's because we have so much stuff. We have done subfolders and sub-levels. So it isn't all just thrown in one place. So you'll see we have board minutes, bylaws, position and committee descriptions, guidelines for volunteer recording and using the correct way volunteering and continuing ed hours, and so on and so forth. There's just all kinds of things on there. So minutes, for example, Jane has done a tremendous job getting all the minutes on here. She's gone clear back to 2013 so that we have a historical record of what our chapter has done over the years. And so if I wanted to see the minutes from this year, when I click on that folder, then it displays all the minutes. We try to put things on as PDFs. And so I can click on that and it gives me the option to download it. And then you can view it, print it, whatever you want to do with it. Same way with, whoops, went back too far. Same way with positions. The board has been working on describing committees and what positions do. And so if you're ever interested in, well, maybe I'd like to be chapter president, here's the description of what the president's responsible for. Or if you want to check our bylaws, we're trying to put as much informative stuff in these documents as we can so that it is accessible to everyone. There isn't just one person that's got it in their possession. It's something that everybody can access. Sometimes we'll put things in here just so that we can link it in the newsletter or link it in a text, like a plant sale pre-order form. That's just a place to store it that we can have a link to send out so people can access it that way. Okay, any questions about those two items or anything on this green bar? Yay. All right. So speaking of profile, I am now going to throw it over to Jim. And Jim is going to take us through pitfalls and the proper way to record your hours.
All right. I know we're kind of running up against our
You're
hour
fine.
here.
You're fine.
But let me get my screen sharing here. And what I've got is I have a PowerPoint and I have a Word document. So if anybody wants this, just send me an email and I can send you these documents. And it kind of lays out how you want to go about entering in your time. And kind of give you a little bit here. We've got the big issue, I think, for some of us is we do have the desktop version and a mobile version. So I do go through in this document how to access both the desktop and the mobile version. And here in the, very briefly, in the desktop version, I tell you how to get logged in if you don't already know how to do that. And I think most folks that are on this call maybe do know how to get into the website. Hopefully they do. If you don't, you do have this option down here of if you forgot your username or password, and that will send you a link on how to get that recreated. You've probably all seen that before, forgetting some password along the way. Then the next is once you're logged in, you then I'm logged in here as Curious George. At this point, you want to select volunteer time. And then this screen or a screen that looks very similar to this will appear. But what you're really looking for here is the add activity icon, which will then open up this. Oh, I'll get to that in just a second. This is the mobile version. So this is what, if you're logging in by mobile and you don't know your password, you have this option here, forgot your username and password. The one thing I want to make sure of with anybody getting on a mobile is you want to have this icon down here indicate desktop, which means that you're actually on the mobile version of the application. If it says mobile, you're actually on the desktop version. So just be sure that when you're going out here to enter time on a mobile device, that this icon down here indicates desktop. Then from the mobile version, you would select menu. And then from menu, select volunteer time. And again, you have this add activity icon. So we're kind of at the same place now between the desktop version and the mobile version, where you now have this add icon option. Once you've hit that add activity, whether you're on the mobile or the desktop version, you will be presented with a screen that looks like this. And just a couple of things of caution I want to make note here is the activity date is always today's date. So if you're going to be entering time for a day other than today, make sure you select whatever day that actually is applicable. And then the activity and the sponsor, these are really critical items. Well, everything's critical, but your activity, you're going to have a wide selection of activities that you can pick from within volunteer activities. And then there's also one item called continuing education, which is the item that you would select if you were attending, let's say, a chapter meeting or a board of directors meeting. You would select that as continuing education. The other really critical one that sometimes I think gets a little bit overlooked is the sponsor. And it's really important that you select the correct sponsor organization. If you're doing some volunteering, let's say at ONSC, or you're going to be down at the Hunt Nature Center, make sure you select that, because what we have happen on a quarterly basis and an annual basis are several of the agencies that we work with will request a report of the hours that we have donated to them. So if we have it accurately collected, of course, they get better information. The other item I would just note here is anything with a red dot, as you've seen probably throughout Club Express, anything with a red dot is a required field. And then down here in the notes section, we do ask that if you can try to put in some kind of descriptor down there of the type of work that you were engaged in, or the type of CE activity that you were at, like like a chapter meeting or a board meeting. And here I go through here, I kind of give you the words of what I just said, probably in a little bit more condensed form. So you've got, again, activity date, activity. I do give you some explanation here on the continuing education and some things to keep in mind, like I have there under 3C, that if you're at a board of directors and you're not a board member, make sure you classify that as continuing ed. Same thing with chapter meetings. And I don't know if everybody knows this or not, but number 6 here, travel hours and travel minutes, no matter what you're going to, all of that time is credited towards your volunteer hours. Even if you're going to a continuing education event, we classify the travel time as volunteer hours. So make sure you put that time in, because it will help you get hours towards your certification. And then the travel miles really is just for your use only. We don't do anything with that as part of the Master Naturalist. And again, as I said, the notes field, just take a few minutes and put some kind of note out there that we know the type of work that you did. And then if you have an entry that you've hit save on and oops, saw that you didn't put in the correct activity or the correct sponsor or the correct amount of time, that entry, like in this case here, Curious George on 11/14 did some bird box monitoring. And now let's say they want to go out there and make a change to this, maybe whatever, travel time or volunteer time. There is this little pencil icon down here that is an edit icon, which will then open up that activity screen, and you can make whatever corrections you need to, and then just resave the activity. And then, of course, if you have any questions, feel free to either contact me or call, or the same for Cheryl with an email or phone number. So that was it. And again, as I say, I've got this available in both a PowerPoint and a Word document if anybody would need that. So with that, I can turn it back to you, Cheryl.
Can I ask Jim a question?
Oh, by all means, Care.
Okay. Remind me if there is a basic code that's used when your volunteer time was not for a partnering agency, but instead for us? Does it say chapter, just the word chapter? I'm trying to remember.
It says NWAMN
Okay.
as your sponsor. Is that what you're talking about, CARES, for the sponsor?
Let me think. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jim, if somebody has a question about how they should enter an hour, do they talk to you?
They can, sure.
Okay.
And actually, one thing I should have said up front also, one of the things that I really hope people try to do, and I am guilty of not doing this, I wish I wasn't, but of course we haven't had many group activities lately, but if you are able to get a group activity, let's say you're going to go out and do a litter pickup. Try to have a consensus with the group of what the activity is so that everybody's time is recorded the same. So if there is a leader of that activity, address that question with them so that when everybody gets back home and they go to enter their hours, everybody is entering them with the same sponsor and with the same activity code.
And I know also a couple of the agencies, it's really important to them to get that report at the end of the year. They like detail as to what people did, particularly the Natural Heritage Commission in particular really wants that report, and they really are interested in notes from nature as well. If you're part of that, they're really tracking the hours on that. So when in doubt, ask somebody who is sponsoring this activity, who should I put? Because we want them to get the credit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good point.
Also, Kara, I might point out that, let me stick my screen on there again. Again, we made it so that the NITs can keep track of their hours, and they need to use a NIT, NIT training entry for that. If you notice, let me get to mine here. And Jim, don't look because I'm so behind putting my hours in.
Oh.
But we do have this, but it will only show if they use, I believe it's called NIT training. So again, what they
It
pick there
does. It
really
says knit.
important.
Yeah, it says knit training only, class only, use only, knit use only.
Yeah.
Whereas like Kara and I have to enter the time we spend as committee activity.
Right. We tried to simplify the categories because we were just getting stuff all over the place. And again, mine is different because I'm an administrator. I see everybody's categories. You only see Northwest. But it really helped us to kind of simplify so that we had more consistent recording. And it does keep track for you if you're certified. So this is red until you have your 8 hours and your 40 hours, and then it turns green. So it's very easy to tell when you're certified. Okay, thank you, Jim. You did a great job. What other questions might anybody have? Or what other areas of the website would you like to hear in more detail at another time?
Could I ask Jim another question about sponsors?
Sure.
Okay. I absolutely agree that a group knowing ahead of time, we are going to do this and we're all going to call it the same thing. What happens when that's not such a formal partnering agency? So I'm going to give you a quick example. So City of Bella Vista, there's one little section. We're just slowly beginning to start put some native plants in and so on, but there's nothing formal as a partnership. Is there something like municipality or something like that for a sponsor?
I have added a lot of stuff for Bella Vista. Here's City of Bella Vista, for example, and City of Bella Vista POA. Okay,
so because this ultimately we're hoping this becomes a pretty profound partnership, and it is we did sign a waiver to a POA waiver. So for now now that's probably what we're going to use, but it's actually got a nature area designation. And so even informally, before we've made like major commitments, even though we're trying to, can we give you the name of that nature area then, sub Bella Vista? Or
Yeah.
does that matter?
I would be concerned about starting to get too many sponsors out there. That would be the kind of thing to definitely put into the notes.
Okay,
Like as an example, City of Bella Vista POA, and then all the work that the group with Nancy Gilmore did at the Buckingham Trailhead. Great example. It's very confined to the Buckingham Trailhead, but I wouldn't want to
right,
make
okay,
a
but
sponsor for Buckingham Trailhead. That would be more appropriate to put the Buckingham Trailhead in the notes, but the sponsor would be the City POA.
okay. So Cheryl, it's called, the short of that we're all hoping to start to try to use now, because we just had 6 of us do some planting and it's getting to be a little bit bigger, is NIPNAM, POA, and then NIPNAM, which is Not in Play Nature Area Birksdale. So I can write that out to you, but that would be the notation that we would make. Yeah.
Yeah, in the note box. Sure.
Okay.
And then there was a comment that someone wanted the handouts emailed, and what I intend to do is tomorrow I'll download this recording and I'll probably just send it out by email to everyone and include the handouts. Jim, I'll include your handout. And so if people miss tonight, or if they just want to look at the handout and not listen to the thing, they still can look at that. Okay, anything else?
Can I share one more thing? I figured out
Sure.
something
Sure.
while we were doing this. Just because I think this will help clarify. Hold on. So I figured out how to add an email to RSVP button. So I showed you that example of where you could get the Zoom registration, like it would show up on the right and it would say, click here, whatever it said, register here or something. If it's just something that you're going to email to RSVP, like a volunteer event, I can add that in right here. And so this is where you'll look for that if it's not like an online registration. And so I can just click on that and it'll, I don't think you can see it. It just opens up my mail program and then has an email already set up to that person. Does that make sense? Somebody's there. Anyway, watch for that coming soon.
Thank you for doing this for us. I really appreciate it. I see this as an awesome knit tool, this particular recording.
Well, we learn something every day.
And something to watch kind of in repetition and in repetition, you know, to watch it a few times until there's a pattern there. I think it'll be great. Thank you.
And just so everybody knows, Terry Wiederhaft asked a very great question. What's tonight's sponsor and activity? Yay, Terry. So it would be NWAM would be your sponsor and the activity is continuing education.
All right. If there's nothing else, I'll bid you all a good night. Stay safe, stay well. Happy Thanksgiving.
Great
Thanks a lot.
job, everybody. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.